would like to call up various people here from these various organizations, in particular Handicap International, which is now called Humanity and Inclusion, which, as you probably know, won the Peace Nobel Prize some years ago, and also Sean and Daniel to explain what they have in mind for a challenge in crowd AI. Any of your mics? Yes, very good.
Thank you, Marcel. Good afternoon. So HI is an aid organization working in some 60 countries alongside people with disabilities and vulnerable populations. Our emergency sectors respond quickly and efficiently to natural and civil disasters. Many parts of the world have not been mapped, especially the most marginalized ones, that is, those most vulnerable to natural hazards. Obtaining maps of these potential crisis areas greatly improves the response of emergency preparedness actors. During a disaster, it is extremely useful to be able to map rapidly the impassable sections of road, for example, as well as the most damaged residential areas, the most vulnerable schools and public buildings, population movements, etc. The objective is to adapt as quickly as possible the intervention procedures to the evolution of the context generated by the crisis. In the first days following the occurrence of a disaster, it is essential to have as fine a mapping as possible of communication networks, housing areas and infrastructures, areas dedicated to agriculture, etc. Today, when new maps are needed, they're drawn by hand, often by volunteers who participate in so-called mapathons. They draw roads and buildings on satellite images and contribute to OpenStreetMap. HI is the world's most comprehensive mine action charity. The heart of this action is victim assistance, risk education activities, stockpile management, and advocacy to ban landmines and cluster bombs. But HI teams also work with local authorities to clear landmines and other explosive remnants of war. Recently, we organized a mapathon to draw the new maps for our clearance teams in Laos. And here's a short video upcoming that shows you the problem in Laos and how the mapping is done. And then Sean Carroll from Crowd AI will introduce our new challenge, mapping by machine learning. Here we go.
Thank you, Paul. We can start the video now.
American government bombed Laos from 1964 to 1973. Over 2 million tonnes of ordnance was dropped in Laos. 25% of the villages are suffering from the contamination of UXO in some form or another. The main concern are the cluster munitions. There were approximately 270 million dropped. The belief is that up to 30% of those failed to detonate. Cluster bomb is a collection of hundreds of small bomblets. The aircraft drops the container then opens, and the cluster bombs spin through the air, which arms them. Those little bombs are equivalent of sensitive hand grenades. If someone is working the land and they knock one of these things, potentially they'll explode and
Donc ce soir, on est en train de cartographier le district de Nong au Laos et l'objectif c'est de tracer les routes et d'identifier les zones d'habitation. Donc pour ça, moi je vais me connecter sur le site dédié de OpenStreetMap, dédié au projet cartographie humanitaire, et là-dessus on va voir que ma zone d'intervention elle a été identifiée et découpée en petits carrés, et donc là-dedans je vais sélectionner un des carrés et marquer que je suis en train de travailler sur ce carré-là pour pas qu'il y ait des gens qui travaillent dessus en même temps. Donc une fois que j'ai verrouillé mon carré, j'accède à l'imagerie satellite sur cette zone-là. Et donc là, maintenant, l'objectif, ça va être d'identifier, de tracer les routes et de repérer les zones d'habitation. Donc là-dessus, je vais commencer à aller zoomer. Et dès que j'aperçois une route, je vais la tracer. Donc là, j'ai un petit outil pour tracer des lignes. Et assez facilement, je peux tracer une route. Et de la même façon, quand j'identifie des blocs de maison, je vais entourer le bloc de maison et dire que c'est une zone d'habitation. Voilà, donc je prends le temps de parcourir tout mon carré en zoomant bien sur toutes les zones. Et quand j'ai fini mon carré, je reviens sur le site OpenStreetMap, le Tasker, et je valide ma zone. Donc je dis que voilà, j'ai fini de travailler sur cette zone-là, j'ai identifié toutes les routes et je la libère pour d'autres personnes. Et derrière, il y a des experts qui vont venir valider mon travail, donc vérifier que j'ai rien oublié. Et une fois que c'est validé, les données sont directement publiées sur le site OpenStreetMap et accessibles par n'importe qui, même à l'autre bout du monde, en direct.
So how does this apply to machine learning? We seem to be clicking through the slides here. So the humanitarian world is centred in, can we just stop the slide? The humanitarian world is centred in Geneva, and they work in very difficult conditions and with very few resources. One thing that's missing is maps, and as you can see, there is these efforts to do mapathons, which are quite like a hackathon. People get together for an entire weekend. So we have now launched a challenge in Crowd AI, which is to take satellite imagery and using machine learning to convert that to usable maps. So roads, features such as buildings. So one of the efforts here is to connect the machine learning community with social causes which they might believe in. You may be aware of all the NGOs that are working and living in Geneva, and here is an opportunity to apply your machine learning skills to efforts that will aid those organisations. So the challenge is available on Crowd AI. At this point, you will be able to review all the information about the challenge, review the video you just saw, and if you're a member of Crowd AI, you'll be soon notified when it is possible to start contributing, to download the data, and to actually enter into the competition. There's two prizes involved. There's basically an invitation to Applied Machine Learning Days next year, and also an opportunity to present your work at the Voices of the Global South. And I'll just ask Daniel to give a bit of description about what that is. Thank you, Daniel.
So, thanks a lot. I'm from the Global Humanitarian Lab, which is a small organization, and it directly connects to the panel discussion. It was some kind of a translator between the humanitarian world and also technology, concentrating on different kind of technology. Machine learning is just one of them. And we would like to invite you to a conference that will happen exactly at the same place, but in June, by EPFL and Coda from EPFL, where we have as DHL a stand where we show the future of the humanitarian worker, and we believe that this kind of mapping challenge and your results will be very, very well fit to this kind of exhibition. Additionally to that, one thing that we would like to offer you is connect you to the right humanitarian actors in the field who can tell you for this mapping challenge what they really need, what their really needs are, and how you can best help them with this kind of map creation.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Okay.
Thank you very much, and as you can imagine, we're extremely excited about this, and obviously we think as a school here, and sort of in the vicinity of all the organizations in Geneva, our lab is actually also in Geneva, Campus Biotech. There's enormous opportunities to work together, and we're looking forward to see that launched soon, and hopefully in the future also other challenges in that general space.